Let's go. Yep. Here we go. Okay. Yes. Okay. All right. And folks, we're going to be live in just one moment. One moment. Yep. There's no question about it. We are going to be live in as soon as we get the go ahead. Yep. There we go. Okay. And we're back. That was not our fault yesterday, I should say. That was a FB problem, without question. Even though in the movie The Social Network, they talk about never being down. They were down yesterday. All right. Right now, we're waiting for JR to give us the green light, and this will be the real news at noon. Real news at noon today. And we're just standing by. Yep. There's no question about it. And there it is at 12:06. Whoa, yes, 12:06 on this sunny Thursday. Where'd all the rain go? It is gone. This is the real news at noon in this portion of the real news at noon at 12:06 on this Thursday, December 12th. And folks, it's brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. This weekend coming up, it's going to be a huge weekend for people doing their Christmas decorating. PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Folks, Christmas headquarters. It's underway. Everything you need. Fraser fir trees, I prefer. First of all, I love a live tree. And at PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, where I get my tree, they have the Fraser fir trees, potted live trees, custom hand wreaths, 10 inch, 60 inches in size. They have Christmas swag, mistletoe, hanging baskets, roping, cut greens, decorative pots, cemetery baskets. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Christmas crafts, gift certificates are available. Yes. And florist quality poinsettias. Debbie has outdone herself. Folks, stop in. Firewood is available, pickup and delivery. It's a local family-run business, and they're great. And they are great sponsors of The Chosen One. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Their next day off is Christmas Day. They grind it. Stop it and see them and look for them on Facebook. Now, someone was asking me about the situation with the FBI in Coventry. You can see the video. We have it up on the website, depetro.com. And don't forget, depetro.com, which is brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick, beautifully decorated for the holidays. A gift certificate at the Coesit Inn is always a great gift. But whether you want to get together with some people for a nice holiday lunch or a Christmas gathering, sometimes, you want to be spontaneous with just a group of people and say, hey, let's go where they can accommodate a large group. I'll tell you where they can do it. The Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Fantastic food, large bar area, which I like, stiff drinks, and they have the market at Coesit that have excellent gift baskets. The Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick, proud sponsors of the depetro.com. Now, on this busy Thursday, I want to just check because I am keeping an eye on, let's see. Okay. This, okay. I don't know. We're going to let we're going to allow the Karen Reed stuff to just play out because right now the it's the defense still has her and going through the whole thing. I'm telling you, the real key here is going to be when they're able to get, when the defense, that Hank Brennan, excuse me, when the prosecutor, Hank Brennan, when they can drill down. I'm telling you, I don't think that lady becomes a witness. But okay, Smithfield. Huh. Man facing upgraded charges after death of bicyclist. A man charged allegedly hitting a bicyclist while under the influence is now facing upgraded charges after the victim died. Lance Nicoletti taken into custody, charged with DUI resulting. That was the injury back in September. I remember this. Hit a 65-year-old who was taken to the hospital, has since died from his injuries. He's been charged felony DUI of liquor, drugs resulting in death, felony driving to endanger. His next court date, July 22nd. So I do remember that, folks. It's terrible. I just don't know when this is going to end. When is this going to end where these people that insist on driving while under the influence? There's so many options now with, forget about even a designated driver. People, you have an app between Lyft and Uber, rideshare service. Boom, you can be home. Whenever I hear about these, and then you had the horrible situation with the two young lives lost just last month in Narragansett. Totally avoidable. All right, I do want to see Elizabeth Warren. Senator Elizabeth Warren has walked back her comment about the killing of the United Healthcare CEO. People can be pushed only so far. Violence is never the answer, period, she says. I should have been much clearer. There's never been a justification for murder. Okay, well, she may be walking that back. But I'm telling you right now, at 12:11, everybody, the support for the gunman, Luigi Mangione. I mean, this story is not only not going away, it's really in the first inning. He hasn't even arrived back in New York yet. That's when things are going to just explode when they finally bring him back to New York. I thought it was interesting. I just want to see some of the latest headlines. Online health rants, back pain, no sleep. Sympathy from jury could save him. The jacket he wore, the CEO shooter, Luigi, they're flying off the shelf. The jacket that you see that he's wearing with the hood, those jackets are selling out. McDonald's worker who identified him gets private security. Copycat fears in Manhattan. The pitchforks are here. I think that is really remarkable. Populist rage and the rise of moral absolutism. I was mentioning this last hour in New York right now, where they have wanted posters of CEOs with their picture, who they work for, obviously their name, and they're spread out. I mean, it is insanity that is going on. Let me just see this. McDonald's worker who identified him gets private security, Luigi Mangione. But here's the part I think, and just hear me out, folks. So last night we did a live stream, and obviously because it was raining sideways, we did a one after dark. I've identified what seems to be, I believe there's a generational divide of people, because last night I was saying, how many people do you support him or not support him? And it starts to, number one, it all depends on the group that you're with. A lot of people are conditioned, and I think most of us would say, okay, you can't do that. It's anarchy. You can't it's not even vigilantism. It's just identifying someone that he thinks is in the wrong and then committing a very violent act. So what I found was, the more that I talked about it and the more that I threw out the sentiments of the young people that are supporting him, some of the people started to waver. So I believe right now, last night, I think it's a generational thing. Older, when I say older, I mean, like, I don't mean much older, but seemingly people over, I'm going to say the age of 40, instinctively say, no, it's wrong. I don't support that. And then I think the older people they even more reject that. Now, that is not young people. That is not, I think this is going to be interesting for the holidays with young people either coming back from college or seeing family. And I think some family are going to be astounded at the number of younger people, I'm going to say under 35, that are supporting him. I don't know exactly what the age is, but here's what I think is an interesting dynamic that I don't think a lot of people realize. So, and I want to just go back to that last headline, sympathy from jury could save him. That's a really interesting dynamic that I don't hear people playing. Sympathy from jury could save him. Sympathy from the jury. It's Newsweek putting that out. Now, here's the part that I want to mention. So I lived in New York, as I've talked about, for 9 years. And, you meet a lot of people. And what a lot of people you may or may not realize is it's very difficult for prosecutors to get convictions in places like the Bronx, especially Harlem, Queens, because when they have the jury and then they have the defendant, and sometimes the entire jury, the makeup of the jury are all people of color, and the defendant, more often than not, are people of color. And I remember then, and I don't think it's changed, it can be very difficult to get a guilty verdict with juries in the inner city. By the way, I'm willing to bet that's probably holds the same for Chicago, maybe Baltimore, where sometimes the makeup of the jury, and it can be difficult to get a guilty conviction. So my point is, remember, all it takes is one. So what if, in fact, and there are TikTok videos of women and they're pretending they're juror number 7 or they're on the jury. There's I saw a TikTok of a woman where she pretends in jury selection, and she's the prosecutor, and they're trying to seat the jury, and all these women are sympathetic to him. When I recognize some people operate the news with blinders on, but I'm telling you, there's something here. There's a lot of, not only is this guy, they're saying they're afraid he's a martyr, is going beyond that. He's, I don't know how to describe it other than, I'm trying to think the last time. I mean, there's a couple of examples when the Boston Marathon bomber was on the cover of Rolling Stone. They were trying to make him look like Jim Morrison. There were a lot of young women at the time that were saying, hey, he's pretty, he's a good looking guy. With Luigi, and he's Italian, and he's from a family of wealth. And first of all, there's a lot of gay guys that are interested in him. And huge amount of females. And there have been different segments on people, as they say, swooning for the CEO shooter. But I think to a larger point, as much as people are expecting, okay, you have the evidence, and then, it does seem pretty solid case. All you need is one juror. There are people making videos saying he was with me. He was working. He was with me. He was not. That's not him. And even his own attorney in Pennsylvania is saying, I don't think they got the right guy. And he's also fighting his extradition. I just think this is not a slam dunk case. And I don't think people identify. I'm just very intrigued by, I'll call it like a cultural trend. Now, again, I think there's a generational thing. I do. And there's several things at play. If you don't watch things on Netflix, you may be unaware of the Netflix special on the Menendez brothers. That not only did that do really well, and as far as very popular, and especially very popular with young females, but on top of that, it caused a movement of people in LA to get their sentences reduced. So the actors, especially one of the actors that played the Menendez brothers, is, a handsome young actor. And so there's no question the Netflix special on the Menendez brothers helped their cause. So now, I mean, that was a long time ago, and they just watched the Netflix special. Now you have real life, and he parachutes in, and he's this young Italian from a wealthy family, and the only time he lowers his mask is to flirt with the girl at the desk at the hostel. It is. I'm telling you, I recognize that if you're not on Instagram and you're not on TikTok, and maybe you don't watch things on Netflix, then I don't think people are in tune with the general sentiment out there. I can tell you it's definitely surprising certain members of the media. And again, I'm trying to understand it and explain it. It doesn't mean I'm justifying it. By the way, I just want to throw in, there are some people, and I don't understand it, they pride themselves on saying, well, I'm not on TikTok. Nope, I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on anything. That's nothing to brag about. You're missing out on so much news and so many stories. I can't, let me say, I can't imagine. I mean, this is some people. There are still some people that get the Providence Journal every day. I remember when I was talking about how great it was with the live streaming of the playoff Kansas City Chiefs playoff game, the live stream on Peacock. And I was saying how, wow, it was fantastic in the fourth quarter with no commercials, and they just go down the sideline. And the amount of people, I never realized how many people still have an antenna, and their television is Fox 64, Channel 10, Channel 12, and Channel 6. That's it. They don't get any cable stations. I was unaware of that. That's why I also realized that's why people love all the live streaming that we do, is because it's free. And it's certainly better than anything that's on Channel 10, 12, or 6. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Kids Club on the Pike, birthday parties, before and after school programs, preschool programs. Kids Club on the Pike. Call them 401-443-5336. Now, they're located, Kids Club on the Pike. They're right on Plainfield Pike, and they're right on the Johnston-Cranston line. It's designed for children. It's a perfect spot to have a birthday party or a teen party, anything. And by the way, it can be for 12 and 13-year-olds. Kids Club on the Pike. Forget about going to Chuck E. Cheese, and Dave & Buster's isn't safe in the mall. Kids Club on the Pike, right on the Cranston-Johnston line off 295. Well, folks, good afternoon. This is The Real News at Noon, and this portion of our program is brought to you by Propane Plus. Now, remember, if you're in Rhode Island, your propane provider, you want it to be Propane Plus, 401-885-4209, or in Massachusetts, 508-252-3359, heating and cooling. You can depend on Propane Plus. And when it comes to your heating and cooling, you don't want to take any chances, and you want to deal with someone that you can depend on. Propane Plus, 3 generations. They're available 24/7, and they have a very user-friendly website. It's propaneplus.com, residential or commercial. It's Propane Plus. You just type in your zip code, or call them today in Rhode Island, 401-885-4209, or in Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus. Well, folks, good afternoon. And I want to be, very clear. No, I'm not advocating for vigilantism. I'm saying you have to look at, I believe part of my role is you have to look at, and some people may not understand this, but if you want to be objective, I think you have to look at like where trends are going. And I'll give a good example. More and more this past election, I would notice that people who were Latino, that they had more in common with President Trump and his values as opposed to the extreme left of the Democrat Party. And that was something that I certainly picked up on. I also noticed that he was gaining a lot of popularity in the Black community, especially men of color. And the fact that There were people that wanted to ignore it. President Obama, Governor McKee, Sabina Matos, Maura Healey, they ignored it. They acted like, no, because of her color, all people of color are going to vote for her. And that obviously was not proven correct. So what I'm saying is, but you only get there if you're objective and you don't try to judge it. You just try to understand the why. And that is that there still are a lot of men of color and Latino men that were not thrilled about voting for not only Kamala Harris, but really even for a woman. And, who's in touch? Well, the Trump people were in touch with that. And that's why I won. Who wasn't in touch with that? I'll get Gina Raimondo. Gina Raimondo said, I think people are ready for 2 women on the ticket. She's in the wrong party. The Democrat Party, not only were they not ready for 2 women on the ticket, the Democrat voters, they didn't want 1 woman on the ticket. So when I talk about this CEO shooter, I'm telling you, people can be very dismissive. It's entirely up to them. And just say, oh, that's crazy. And I see people trying to say that, but there's something there. He tapped in, and he's so defiant, and him yelling out, and even his thing of, that parasite had it coming. There's anger there. There's rage there. When they're talking about a jury, how are you going to land 12 people that haven't tried to deal with the healthcare system? Folks, what I'm trying to say, and I'll admit, maybe I'm not saying it effectively at 12:26, but what I'm trying to say is, when Elizabeth Warren said you can only push people so much, okay, so she backtracked on that, but I don't think she's wrong. And I'm not talking about violence, by the way. I'm not necessarily talking about violence. For instance, I think there's other means that people can be effective and have their voices heard. Because I do think in certain areas, people are at a breaking point. I'm going to give a national example, and then there's several examples. Number one, the whole migrant thing. That was a breaking point that cost Harris, Walz, Biden the election. The amount of people that said this is insanity. Those people don't belong here. They're coming in illegally. We're putting them up, paying for them at a hotel, giving them an EBT card, giving them a welcome bag, and I'm struggling to get food on the table. I think the migrant crisis, I think this election was about that. That's how far they pushed it. Now in Rhode Island, Governor McKee, this whole Mickey the Dope of, I don't know, are we a sanctuary state? He gave out driving privileges. I don't hear anyone in the Republican Party echoing how people feel. I don't hear the news media echoing how people feel. Amplifying, I should say. But I'm telling you, the anger is out there. So now, when it comes to healthcare, is that the proper reaction? That you travel into New York, hunt this guy down, and take him out? No. But at the same time, who is stepping forward? Let's talk about like a Seth Magaziner. What has he done? What has he done, or Gabe Amo, or Sheldon Whitehouse? They don't do anything. They don't do anything for you. They don't do anything for me. Why is United Healthcare allowed to reject 33% of claims? Why are they allowed to do that? And that guy that was taken out, Brian Thompson, had the audacity he flew into New York first class and then wanted to enjoy a day of shopping and eating at the finest restaurants and gives himself a $10 million bonus. And then Luigi shows up. Like, not so fast. So my point is, I know that people's knee-jerk reaction is you just say, oh, no, that's wrong. But I don't think people fully understand how angry people are. And by the way, I'll say not only are they angry, but I think they have a right to be angry. I'm not saying he had a right to do that. And there is a difference, by the way. But, just the audacity of it, the gall. And he's strolling in his expensive blue blazer that he got at Bergdorf that only costs, $2,500, and he's strolling to the investor conference as he's ready to tell them that he's going to raise the rejection rates to 40%, and then he wants a $25 million bonus. Where does the greed end? As I talked about locally, the head of Lifespan parachutes out, pays himself $7 million. That total insanity. And no one calls them out on it. Nobody. When you glob on the way these healthcare people do, and as I've said locally, these union people, they're not building anything. They're not improving anything. They're like barnacles. They are parasites. They just glom onto things, and then just, like a parasite, suck the blood out of it. And I think we are at a breaking point. As I have mentioned, no, I'm not advocating that anyone should, they had the press conference on Tuesday regarding Governor McKee and the bridge. I'm not advocating, and it would have been inappropriate, no one would have got in anyway, but to get in there and disrupt it. But I'll be the first one. I have been disappointed that the people of East Providence just take it. And that's why I was saying, the mayor of East Providence, this nonsense of, things are back to normal and East Providence is chugging along, and they're delusional. Governor McKee, just based on the bridge, like, of course people should have been fired at DOT. They're so insulting. They got raises. No one lost their job. No one was demoted. No one was suspended. And McKee, Captain Incompetent, acts as though it was an act of God. He shouldn't be the governor. Matos shouldn't be the lieutenant governor. They're clowns. They're way in over their head. And I don't, but I admit, I don't understand the people in the East Bay. Like that Val Lawson. She was reelected in the Senate from the East Bay. She's the head of the teachers union. The schools are atrocious. They're not getting any better. And she's partly responsible. What has she done to improve things with the bridge? Nothing. I don't understand the people that send someone like that back. If these people had any sense of dignity or pride, they would just resign. McKee hasn't decided if he's going to run for re-election. He should be ashamed of himself. Him touting Biden, he was all in for Biden. Well, Biden's the best president Rhode Island's ever seen. That's his mindset. Dan McKee could have picked anyone for lieutenant governor. Who did he pick? Sabina Matos. I just think we are headed towards like a breaking point here. I think people are getting fed up. People are fed up with the media. People are fed up with failed elected officials. They're not leaders. That press conference, so insulting. So insulting. Where McKee still keeps saying, 10-minute delay. He's put people out of business. He's forced people to quit their jobs, completely drop the ball. And I can't believe not one person. Igliosi is still at DOT, that little worm. His fundraiser went on schedule the night of the bridge closure. And we're supposed to believe that the bridge is safe, one side for everybody. I don't believe them. They wouldn't tell us the truth anyway. So I think what you saw was a very extreme example with the CEO shooter. But the rage displayed, I think what jumps out is when people, and some people don't fully get that. You know what? January 6th, that was rage. That was people upset, told to be quiet, and then for 2 hours, they said, no, we're not going to be quiet. We want answers on what happened here. And they watched an entire summer because of George Floyd of people burning buildings and breaking windows and smashing police cars and looting and vandalizing. And we were all just told to take it. You know, you had to take it for the cause. The Democrat Party is so lost right now. And I believe the Rhode Island, especially whether it's Massachusetts with Governor Healy spending $1 billion on people that aren't even supposed to be here in the first place and kicking Americans out of shelters so they can put up people from other lands that don't follow the rules. I don't understand any of it. Folks, this portion of our program, I want to remind you about Dreammaker. Call them today, 401-433-7272. They're beautiful design center. They're right on Greenwich Avenue in Warwick. Dennis and Christina, Dreammaker, bath and kitchen. They'll do a tremendous job for you. Remember, respect, integrity, customer focus. If you're listening or watching on this Thursday, if you've been thinking of updating your kitchen, this is who you want to do business with. Dreammaker. Call them, set up an appointment. Their state-of-the-art design center, 401-433-7272 for Dreammaker. I just don't know where this is going to go. And I also, folks, as I have stated, it's so insulting. I think that's what irritates me about Governor McGreed. Is just, it's so insulting. We are, I'm telling you, we deserve so much better as a leader. And how is he insulting? Why should we believe him? They have no idea when the bridge is going to be completed. They don't even know when the bridge is going to be built. Stop talking about it's going to last 100 years. That doesn't mean anything to anybody. No one's going to be left. But where it's so insulting is, and there's two elements. Number one, how many driving privileges cards did they give out to illegals? How many did they give? Governor McKee, oh, we don't know. I don't believe him. I don't believe him. The guy's basically a pathological liar. I'll say this about McKee. He's not an idiot. He knows where to go where they accept the lies. He'll go and do his little segment, protect the governor, and they'll say, Governor, are we a sanctuary state? Oh, I don't know. And they accept it. Governor, how many people got driving privilege cards that are new arrivals? Oh, I don't know. And they accept it. Governor, ICE says you released a child predator. No, they're lying. Oh, okay. I mean, it's so outrageous. So we're supposed to believe he doesn't know how many people they give out. There's no reasonable person that believes that. And by the way, that's against the law for the registry to not know that. And the other thing is that he can't explain, and again, he's not asked this. Wherever you're listening or watching right now, do you realize you deliver to Providence? The city of Providence receives $300 million in school aid. $300 million in school aid, the city of Providence. And my question is, if you have half of the students are illegals, this is my question. Why should the taxpayers, why should you have to pay for someone from another country who comes in here and then now you're paying for their child to go to school? Why is that? Why do you have to pay that? What did you do in a prior life? No one will answer that question. Well, you know, they're here and we go, but why? How come taxpayers have to pay that? If you have private donors that want to run a school and then they're going to pay for it, at least then you're not asking people for it. No one mentions that. I'll tell you, McKee certainly doesn't answer that. That much we know. But I'm at a loss. Why is it that regular people have to foot the bill for that? The answer is they shouldn't. It's just no one wants to come out and say it. So when it comes to, again, folks, I know some people may not see the parallels, but I think there's a rage building out there. There's a rage building of people. And for that little worm that of the United Healthcare strolling into the investor conference and these drug companies and strolling in with this $10 million bonus and then refusing the claims of elderly individuals that have paid their whole life. And now you're just totally purposely deceiving them and giving them the runaround on their medical claims to keep them alive. That is pure greed. To do that is pure evil. There needs to be a reckoning with those individuals by someone. So I don't know, maybe it should be Congress. Maybe it should be in the Senate. Maybe it should be state by state. But that should be reined in. And it will be interesting with a jury, because all you need is one juror that had either themselves or a family member gypped and given the runaround by these people. And it's a not guilty. I don't see it. Folks, this happens a lot in jurors around the country. I think what's unusual about this is it normally doesn't happen to a young white male of means. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by J. Perry Paving. Still time to get your parking lot paved or your driveway. Call them 401-732-1730. J. Perry Paving. They'll give you a free quote, 401-732-1730. Letter J. J. Perry Paving. Hey, get it paved before the winter months set in. The weather over the next couple of weeks is actually going to be mild. J. Perry Paving. Call them, request a quote, 401-732-1730. Now, again, I fully understand that everyone is supposed to say, isn't this terrible? And blah, blah, blah. And I can't believe he did that. And of course he's guilty and everything else. And I saw it last night. And no, I don't think whether it was the guy that went to the golf course that was under the impression that it was his obligation to, take the life of President Trump, or the guy in Butler, Pennsylvania, crawling around on the roof. No, I don't believe that. But at the same token, where are the people standing up? I'll tell you, I believe in our area, I don't think there's been enough pushback and outrage to match. I don't see any elected official that is matching the anger and rage that people have about this bridge. But it's still the one, as I said it Tuesday and I said it yesterday. The one I can't get past is the mayor of East Providence. I mean, that I can't imagine. And I get that the whole McKee's promising him things and blah, 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 and stick with me. But it's for the mayor of East Providence to stand there and be used like a stooge and pretend that things are fine. The closing of the bridge, where are the firings? Where are the arrests? What is taking so long? It's a year later. They know what happened. They totally know what happened. Where'd all the money go? McKee, one thing about Governor McKee, the guy, he's like the worst liar. I don't believe him. By the way, I have the right to say I don't believe him. And I know he's got his little friends down the dial, right? He's got his little pork boy campaign, and he's got protect the governor. And they just, we just asked the question. Oh, Candyman, give him little nicknames. He is the one person that I think has spoken out the most about him is Attorney General Peter Neronha, who is, by the way, basically throwing it out there that he's looking to run for lieutenant governor. What I like about him is he sees right through McKee. He sees that McKee is basically Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee is basically a criminal in the role of governor. And a perfect example is, look at how it was the press that had to say, who paid for your legal bill? Because he just came out and said, it was Bill Murphy that gave me the advice on it. And it was actually the Attorney General that said former Speaker Murphy was the one. McKee had no intentions of paying him. McKee was probably winking a nod like, I'll make it up to you next session because Murphy's a lobbyist. So how much do I owe you? Winking a nod. And Murphy, don't worry about it. And then McKee, okay, I'll take care of you next session. That's what that was. I believe that we are in certain areas, and healthcare is one of them, that people are starting to reach a breaking point and they're being pushed and challenged. And I think this crazed Luigi, again, I'm not condoning it. I don't even think he's in his right mind. But I think that people are identifying with the rage. Now, listen, we're going to take a break in just 15 seconds. Again, this is the real news. We have a lot more to go right now at 12:44. But as we're coming up to 12:45, let's send it back to JR in the studio.